Welcome, welcome everyone. My name is Kathy Ashley and I am the Chief Executive of Family Rights Group, and delighted that there's such an amazing turnout, particularly given it's the 1st of August. Oh, no, it's not, it's 3rd of August even today. So Family Rights Group is a charity established nearly 50 years ago, and our objectives are to enable children to live safely within their family network and to build and strengthen the family supports and community supports of children who are unable to live at home. And that's where Lifelong Links comes in. So to give you a bit of a background about Lifelong Links, in 2011, there was an inquiry by a number of different voluntary organisations, including Family Rights Group, into the care system. And the conclusion was that too often the care system breaks rather than builds relationships for children in care. That can be because they're moved away from home, their links with their schools are broken, their friends, their wider family, grandparents. It may be that they end up only seeing part of their family, such as their maternal family, and the paternal family is no longer seen as a priority in relation to contact by children's social care. So for a range of different reasons, children end up with relationships broken. And Family Rights Group wanted to turn that on its head in order that children in care and care leavers could have meaningful relationships that they could depend on emotionally, practically, and at times financially. We all need people we rely on for different things, whether it's when you're having a relationship crisis, whether it's just that you need to share good news, whether it's your birthday, who you go to at Christmas, some help with thinking about education, jobs, etc. We all need that. And we know from research that too often children in care and care leavers end up isolated. They end up without that support network, particularly when they turn 17, 18 and their professional support systems end up disappearing. And instead, what we have is lots of evidence about care experienced young people being overrepresented in terms of the criminal justice system, in terms of homelessness, in relation to unemployment, in relation to mental health admissions. So we wanted to do something about that. And that's how we ended up designing Lifelong Links. So we started talking to care experienced young people. We spoke to local authorities, to family group conference services. We looked internationally at what was going on, and we talked to foster carers, children's homes, social workers, and we ended up coming up with the Lifelong Links model. I'm going to now ask Lucy to show you a short film, which it's a lovely depiction of Lifelong Links, but it also gives you.
Hello, I'm Sadie and I'm 9 years old. This is Matt and Jenny. They're my foster carers and I've lived with them for 2 years. For a long time I miss my friends and family, especially my Nana. She taught me how to build paper aeroplanes and I made them every night to feel close to her. Sometimes I even wrote little notes inside, just in case they reached her. Jenny knew that I missed my Nana and thought there might be a better way to contact her. One day, a very tall man called John came to visit. Here he is. He's a Lifelong Links coordinator. I wasn't too sure what that meant, but he said he was like my very own private detective and would try and find the people who I was missing. Nana! John asked if there was anyone else, and we drew lots of pictures of my happy memories. Before Matt and Jenny, we talked about who was important to me and in what ways they helped me. I drew my friend Lizzie, who lived across the street, and Lizzie's mum. She made such delicious spaghetti and looked after me when my mum couldn't. John took pictures of my drawings and then went off to do detective-y things. Each time I saw him, John would chat to me about the different people he had found. Some people I didn't even know, but they knew me and wanted to see me. After a few weeks, John told me he had some exciting news. He wanted me to help him plan a party called a family group conference in my honor. When the day of the party arrived, lots of people that I really cared about came, including my nana and my mum. My cousins in Ghana even sent me a video message. It's been more than a year since the party, and I'm still in touch with everyone, thanks to the plan that was made for me. I go for walks in the park with Mum. I have a video call with my cousins in Ghana on Sundays, and I go around to Lizzie's for dinner every month. Spaghetti. But best of all, I get to see Nana every week. I still throw paper planes, but now I don't need to write notes inside of them because Nana's right beside me.
That was a very quick run through in relation to giving you a sense about lifelong links. So the idea of lifelong links isn't about finding a home for a child. It's about trying to ensure that children have meaningful support network, meaningful relationships that they can depend on through their life. I'm now going to just quickly show you the lifelong links model. Some of you will be much more familiar with this than others, so we're just trying to, in this very short space of time, give you a quick run through of both lifelong links and the funding stream that's going to be, or that has been made available. So I'm hoping, there we go. So to just very briefly explain, child is absolutely at the centre. Lifelong links doesn't happen unless the child agrees. It goes at their pace, and they set the objectives from the start. Of course, there's also parental response, those with parental responsibility who need consent, but this is a child-driven approach. Too often things are done to children in care, and this is about their support network. So it matters that actually they feel that they're in the driving seat. There's what tends to happen, and I say tends because will be slightly different in relation to care leavers, but there should be an initial discussion between the child social worker and the family group conference manager in relation to a referral. And the family group conference part of that is important, and we'll talk about that a bit more later. You then have a planning meeting which looks at what support systems need to be in place for that child while they're on their lifelong links journey, including any risks that might be need to be considered, thinking about either foster care or the residential children's home, then being involved in that. You then get the coordinator meet with the child, and there are a range of different tools that the coordinator uses in order to explore the child's network. When I talk about network, I both mean blood relatives, but also other people that are meaningful to the child, including, for example, former foster carers, teachers, your schoolmate's mum. You're getting a picture. Some of those tools you may already be familiar with. Some of them are used in other family group conference, child welfare conferences. Others are unique to Lifelong Links and were created by Family Rights Group. Then we end up with the coordinator identifying family wider network, always sort of liaising with the social worker to make sure that's safe. They then are brought together with the child's agreement at the child's place at a Lifelong Links family group conference, which is also a celebratory event in relation to the child, but it's also about creating a lasting support plan. And that needs to then be embedded in the child's care plan or their pathway plan. So that's a very quick run through of the model itself. So what do we know in terms of its impact? I'm going to go on now to, there you go, some numbers in front of you. So at the moment in the UK, 32 local authorities are offering Lifelong Links to some children in care, and over 2,300 children and young people have participated in Lifelong Links to date. And you can see that from 7 to 26 is the average increase in number of connections. That new evaluation came out a couple of weeks ago from King's College, London University, which shows that Lifelong Links reduces the risk of homelessness amongst care leavers by 10%. I'll also now go on to some more evaluation findings. So in the early stages of Lifelong Links, there was a 3-year trial funded by the government of Lifelong Links in England, to the separate trial going on in relation to Scotland. And that trial was focused on children in care who were under 16, had been in care for less than 3 years, and where there was no plan for them to return home or be adopted. I should add that now that that trial is, we're past the trial stage, so those restrictions no longer apply. If you're thinking about introducing Lifelong Links in your authority, it's not restricted to that group of children. But nevertheless, what the evaluation by Professor Lisa Holmes of the trial of Lifelong Links found was that it led to an increased sense of identity. It led to increased stability of children and young people in their placement, or I don't like the term placement, so in their foster home or children's home. And you can read the figures there about that significant contrast of 74% where children have participated in Lifelong Links still remaining in their home a year later, compared to 41% who hadn't in the comparison group. At Hertfordshire County Council, it's great to have Ben on this call, did some work to explore what the impact in relation to cost effectiveness, and found a cost avoidance of over 836,000 in 1 year as a result of Lifelong Links, including reduced need for supervision of contact. It was fewer children going missing, a number of range of factors were in play. And I also just want to mention that the longitudinal evaluation, which Professor Lisa Holmes conducted, alongside finding that continuity around stability of where children were living, they also found that it led to an improvement in children's mental health and well-being. So that's a very quick run through. It's important not only because obviously we want to show that Lifelong Links has a positive effect on children, but also because the DFE funding pot, which I know you're all interested in, one of the conditions is that that you can only apply for a approach which has been evaluated, and where the evaluation is established. Okay, on to the next slide. I'm just going to very quickly run through this slide because I'm conscious of time, but it was a recommendation of the Independent Review for Children's Social Care that what Josh McAllister recommended was that some find of family finding support, what they called equivalent to exceeding the work of Lifelong Links, but no one has found another model that exceeds the work of Lifelong Links, is in place by 2024 at the very latest. On to the next slide. So the government's response to the Josh McAllister review, the independent review, was not to set a deadline of 2024, but instead to say by 2027, every care experienced child and young person should feel they have strong, loving relationships in place. And that is what's led to this new funding stream. Now, I'm hugely relieved that there is this new funding stream. It's also quite frustrating that we're only hearing it's only been announced in August. And I know many of you are going to be working right to the clock in relation to getting your applications in. But I'm just going to spend 1 minute explaining this funding stream, and then there's opportunity for questions later. So it's 30 million. It's between deadline for applications is the 25th of August. The DFE will announce their decisions in October, and it needs to launch November, but it's only for this financial year and next financial year. So basically the funding's till the end of March 2025. The DFE have earmarked 70% of it for family finding programs, and Lifelong Links comes under that generic heading of family finding. So you can, as a local authority, you can apply under the family finding heading. There's a separate application form in relation to the befriending and mentoring program. So you can apply separately for Lifelong Links and for a mentoring or befriending program. Local authorities can only put in one application under the family finding banner. So you can put one application in for Lifelong Links. You can collaborate with other local authorities. Up to 5 local authorities can put in an application together, but you can't put in a single application for Lifelong Links and be part of a consortium. You've got to choose one or the other. They've given an indicative cost of 7,100 to 10,600 per young person for the applications that you submit. If you're already offering a Lifelong Links service, then what I should say is that they've also made clear that you can't just apply to expand that service. It's got to be for a specific cohort of children and young people that currently you are not working with or not sufficiently working with. And I think that's a sort of run through to give you an idea, and there'll be an opportunity for more questions. Just the other thing I should say is that there is an email that you can ask questions of the DFE. And when they talk about children and young people in care, they are talking up to the age of 25, just to make that clear. I'm now going to hand over to Sean.
Hi there, I'm Sean Hurst. I'm practice lead for Family Group Conferencing and Lifelong Links at FRG. So this is just a slide setting out a kind of route map to set up a service. And the first half of the route map really is what needs to be in place in order to make the application. And then the second half, what we consider to be important in terms of developing and implementing Lifelong Links. So starting from the left, we expect that because Lifelong Links is built on the key principles of FGCs, and FGC, as Kathy has outlined, is central to the process, we expect those wanting to develop a service to have an existing family group conference service. And also then sort of, because Lifelong Links is not seen as an add-on, it shouldn't be seen as an add-on. It's important that the service sort of buys into the kind of key principles of Lifelong Links, about the importance of relationships, the importance of young person's sense of identity, and about the support that's needed from social workers from other parts of the service to implement the plan that results from Lifelong Links and to participate in the process. So we really feel it's key that the senior management commitment to introduce Lifelong Links and to support the service to be able to access all the various support arrangements that we have in place at Family Rights Group. So that's a really key element. And alongside that as well, then the importance of a commitment to establish an implementation group, a steering group really, to oversee the implementation of Lifelong Links, to be available to kind of problem solve, to plan for the development and the ongoing work of Lifelong Links. That's a really, really key element to carry forward the work. And we expect that group to have representation from all of those people that will be key to that being successful. So it needs to have IROs, legal input, chaired by a senior manager, social work involvement, foster care involvement, but also stakeholder involvement from those with lived experience of services as well. So I think all of those elements are really important, and part of the trial, these were the kind of the cornerstones for the delivery of the trial and seem to be crucial to the effectiveness of the approach as seen through the evaluation. And then we also then are looking for having having an established FGC service, that you also have experienced coordinators who are then able to take on this work and to attend our Lifelong Links training. We have a 3-day virtual Lifelong Links training that we expect coordinators to attend, and then to continue to provide support. We have practice learning sets, 3 of those a year, when we get all practitioners from all of the sites, all of the local authorities to come together, share practice, hear about anything that's developed along the way that we can share with that. Really created a community of practice, and that we can learn from each other in that way as well. We also have we expect local authorities to sign up to the FGC and Lifelong Links network. We have 4 virtual events a year, and we also have 6 weekly Lifelong Links managers calls. So managers can come together and kind of just share issues around developing and implementing Lifelong Links. So those are all key ways that we support practice. Another element, and again was demonstrated through the evaluation, was we want to place a lot of emphasis on model fidelity. It's the Lifelong Links will not be effective if you take away some of those important ingredients to the process. So in order to achieve that, we expect Lifelong Links services to adhere to the quality standards framework we have, both for Lifelong Links. So we've developed an accreditation framework for Lifelong Links, but we have an existing accreditation framework for FGC services. So we expect those services that are committing to Lifelong Links to commit to work within the standards framework within those accreditation frameworks, and eventually to be accredited as services as well. So we think that's really, really important, because we're also then we're hearing about good practice, and we're able then to identify any areas that maybe need to be improved in the delivery of services locally. Again, sort of creating that kind of community of understanding and shared knowledge. As I've mentioned, the important, all the way through our different sort of structures that we have in place, we place a lot of emphasis on the involvement of those with lived experience, so through our training, through the accreditation process, through what we expect you to be doing as services as well. So that's really, really key. And fundamental to all of this is that Family Rights Group will appoint a dedicated practice advisor to those services to support local authorities to implement Lifelong Links in accordance with all of these expectations. And that's what we've been doing throughout the programme of Lifelong Links from the start. So that's kind of just a route map from what we expect you to have going forward, and how we can then support you in developing and implementing Lifelong Links. So move on to the next slide. I think we're over to Lucy now.
Okay, great. Thanks, Sean. So just to just before I explain some of the support that Family Rights Group provides to help you as a local authority kind of set up and establish a Lifelong Links service, it seems quite a good opportunity to actually introduce you to the rest of the team and to see who you'd potentially could be working alongside. Now, Kathy and Sean are very much integral parts of the team, but you've already met them and you can't have too much of a good thing. So we'll skip on by them. We also have Pamela Edward. She is the Principal Social Work Advisor here at Family Rights Group and also the Lifelong Links Project Director, but she's unfortunately on annual leave at the moment. But then to introduce you to the rest of the team, I'm hoping, Jordine, do you want to kind of pop up and show yourself? I will show you. Let me see. There you go. There's Jordine. Do you want to just introduce yourself, Jordine? Oh no, Jordine has perennial microphone issues, so I'll just give a tag. Jordine, give a wave. Jordine is the Lifelong Links and FGC project coordinator. She's been with us quite a few years now, and is the reason why everything works pretty much. Then just to introduce Andrew. So Andrew, do you want to say hello?
Hello everyone, I recognise a lot of faces on the screen and names on the screen today. Good to see you all here.
And then Nicola. Have we lost Nicola?
No, I'm here.
Oh, there you go. Do you want to say a little bit about yourself? Say a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Nicola Lines. I have been working with FRG for just over 12 months now. I'm a qualified social worker by background. I've been qualified over 20 years, worked in children, families all that time. I got into FGCs about 12 years ago. I've worked with FGCs in North Yorkshire and Leeds, and more recently helped establish the Lifelong Links service in Leeds as well over the last 3 or 4 years. So plenty of FGC and Lifelong Links experience if you end up working with our team. Nice to meet you all.
And then Dawn.
Hi, I'm Dawn Walsh, and like Nicola, I'm a qualified social worker. I got into FGCs sort of late 1990s, and then in 2002 I co-founded the Kent Family Group Conference Service, which I managed up until 2019 before joining the Family Rights Group. And during that time, obviously Lifelong Links came along, so I introduced Lifelong Links alongside Andrew actually into Kent at that time. So that's me.
Brilliant. Thank you. So Andrew and Nicola are being very busy in the chat box at the minute, so you can go ahead and put any questions you have in there, and then just shortly after this we'll have a little Q&A session. So we'll bring Dawn back for that. So what is the support that we do provide? Now, I think the first key thing to emphasize is that it is bespoke and it is tailored to the needs of your local authority. But there are kind of 6 key areas that we cover, some of which Sean has already touched on, so I won't go too much into them. But one of the key things is the consultancy hour. So that is the one-to-one support that will be provided to you by one of our delightful practice advisors. So one of them will be assigned to you, so either Nicola, Andrew, or Dawn will be assigned to you to provide that one-to-one support, helping you with everything from deciding on maybe the cohort of children you want to work with if you're a brand new local authority, to Lifelong Links, helping you raise awareness amongst local authority, helping to embed the approach. And then once you're taking on your first referrals, kind of thinking through and helping you answer any practice questions that you might have. And so it really is individual to you to how you spend the hours that you have to work with them. Then we provide training, coordinator training. So again, this will depend on where you're at as a local authority and some things that you might want to think about. So would you require additional FGC training? So would you be looking to increase the capacity of your FGC service and needing to train up new coordinators? And then of course the Lifelong Links work. So there's a 3-day online training course FGC coordinators to take part in, and that equips them for everything they need to be able to take on the Lifelong Links work. There's also additional training that we have. So we've developed a one-day training course to consider the additional elements of working with care leavers, and we also run like a half-day course for managers. It's like an awareness session, and it's for those people within the local authority who aren't working directly on Lifelong Links, but actually it'd be really useful for them to have a good grounding in the Lifelong Links kind of process and the concept and their role in it. So some senior managers have attended that in the past. It's quite popular for ROs as well to attend. So these are all things that we kind of, all these, the training opportunities that we have. Also then the third thing is access to resources. So we've got the Lifelong Links toolkit that helps you, takes you through about how to set up a service. And if the answer is not in there, then there's usually not an answer, and then that's something that we'll work on. We also have additional guidance, as that's working with, we've got a number of different bits of guidance that we've developed, because they're groups of children that actually require a bit more thought and maybe a bit of adaptation to practice. So working with children who are non-verbal or have significant communication support needs, working with siblings, working with unaccompanied children. This is all a piece of guidance that we've developed to stand alongside that, so all that is available for you. The Social Connections tool, which I won't go into too much detail now about, but it's an online tool, practice tool that helps kind of find out from children and young people who it is they have to rely on, what ways they can rely on them, and maybe can identify gaps for some young people, but also identify new people that are really important to them that weren't previously known. And so it's important to kind of reconnect with them. The peer support Sean's touched on, so that's the practice learning sets for coordinators and the managers meetings that we have, and then the service accreditation he's already spoken about as well, so I won't go too much into that. So this package outlined is for local authorities who have who maybe don't have an existing Lifelong Links service, and so and for those who have one, it may, like I said, it may require adaptation, particularly around training places. And then for local authorities, and there's a number of you here today, number of local authorities who are already offering Lifelong Links and who we're already working with. And I think one of the things I guess we need to think about is how our support could be tailored to your specific needs. So which groups will be the focus of your application? Could it be unaccompanied children, children in residential care, children placed outside of local authority, or maybe with care leavers? And on what scale do you intend to kind of roll that out to, and then kind of support and financial implications of that? So the next steps in all of this is going to be critical. And so following this meeting, we are going to send out an email. I think it's just on the next slide, Jordine, if you could pop it up, please. So following this meeting, we're going to send out an email, and you'll either get that hopefully either end of today or tomorrow, but we're going to aim for today. And in that, there's going to be a link where you can schedule to have a 40-minute meeting with ourselves over the next couple of weeks. And that's where we can discuss the level of support that you might require from us. And we can advise you on maybe what you're including in your application. Now at that meeting, it'd be great if you're able to get, kind of everyone in the room that you think would be important. So it's really important to have senior leadership on board with this to help with the embedding and the system change that Lifelong Links can bring. But we are painfully aware that it is the 3rd of August. The deadline is the 25th of August, and we are in peak annual leave season. So we would want to have those discussions with your senior leaders, but if it's not possible in this period, then we can do that later. But what is critical to kind of book in this slot with us and talk to us. If you are going to include Lifelong Links in the bid and in your application for this kind of funding pot, it's really important that you do talk to and let us know, because we do need to be a partner in the bid. If Lifelong Family Rights Group, you know, we co-developed Lifelong Links. We run the training. We have the resources and the tools, and so if we're not included, then you wouldn't have access to all those resources. So talk to us, and we can work out what a bespoke training consultancy package will look like. And we can also send out an overview of the support provided. So we will send out a copy of these slides to everyone who's here today. But what we can also do is kind of break down what those 6 areas of support are, and kind of go into a little bit more detail about it as well. So I'm going to now, I think it's probably helpful if we bring Kathy and Sean back, and Dawn, and then I'm going to also introduce Tendai. So hopefully we can get some people spotlighted. Let me just bring you back. And Dawn. So if you do have a question, do pop your hand up. I know some have been going on in the chat, and so we'll come to those as well. And there's Tendai. Tendai, sorry, would you like to introduce yourself, because I've not introduced you yet? So,
well, hi everybody. My name is Tendai Mrowe. I'm Assistant Director for Quality Assurance in the London Borough of Southwark, and I was part of the pilot for Lifelong Links way back in 2016 with my great, amazing team at Hertfordshire. Nice to see you, Donna and Ben, on the call. Yeah.
Great. So I'm going to go to some of the questions that have been kind of coming through on the chat. And like I said, if there's anything additional, do feel free to pop it in there. You can pop your hand up. So let me just see what question. So I think Kathy and Sean, we bring you in this one. So I've had a question about terms of eligibility. So about local authorities who don't have a family group conference service, and how could they apply, or what could they do?
Okay, so if you don't have an existing family group conference service, then what I would say is that Lifelong Links builds upon the expertise, the model of family group conferencing. So if you want to introduce, as a local authority, a family group conference service, regardless of this funding pot, we can help you to do that. And I would strongly encourage you to be thinking that, because this is about system change. It's about supporting children to live, as family group conferences can support children to live within their families. And there's a recent Foundations evaluation which has shown that family group conference successfully avert children from ending up in care system in some cases. So I would strongly encourage you to have a family group conference service, and do talk to us about that. I would say if you're looking at applying to this pot to set up the family group conference service and Lifelong Link service in one go, it's going to be tricky. I would say talk to us, do schedule a meeting, and we can work through with you the feasibility of that. But just bear in mind that the government, in terms of how they're evaluating applications, they have put an amount that's an indicative amount in relation to numbers of children supported during this funding phase. You are going to be pushed to use that to both set up the FGC service and to be working with children offering Lifelong Links in that time span. But talk to us and have an FGC service anyway. That's what I would say. Anything you want to add, Sean?
No, only that, we've got training dates on the website. So, I think getting moving fairly quickly would be key to achieving that. Yeah.
Great. Got a bit of a practical question that Dawn, I'm going to throw your way. So how many young people, and this was quite a tricky one, but how many young people would a coordinator work with over a year on Lifelong Links, roughly, if they're dedicated to the role? Deborah Freeman.
But if you've got a dedicated, as in not one that's committed, but it's their only role, it really depends on how you work as an FGC service and how your individual coordinators work. On average, when you start off doing Lifelong Links, your pieces of Lifelong Links work will take longer than an average family group conference. I think at the very beginning, what we found was that they were taking roughly double the time a family group conference took. That does speed up, like anything, as coordinators become more familiar with the work, it does speed up. I think because of the nature of the work as well, you probably need to have more than one Lifelong Links referral on the go at any one time, because it's so child-led or so young person-led, the young person can actually pause or even stop Lifelong Links at any part of the Lifelong Links process. So you probably, if you've got a dedicated Lifelong Links coordinator, I would be thinking that if you would normally have, say, somewhere between 6 to 8 FGCs on the go at any one time, you probably want roughly half of that for your Lifelong Links work, at least when you're just starting out, because it does take a little bit more time, not necessarily in the total number of hours eventually, but those hours are spread out over a longer period of time, from the point at which that you might reach a satisfactory conclusion for the Lifelong Links work. So that probably hasn't given you the answer you want, as in how many they will do. But if you work on roughly, when you start off, it's going to be about half the amount that you would probably do for a more traditional FGC. You won't go too far wrong.
Thanks, Dawn. Tendai, I'm going to bring you in now. So, as you mentioned, you helped to set up and establish, along with Donna, Haley, and Ben, helped to set up an incredibly successful service in Lifelong Links service in Hertfordshire. What would you say are the key things to consider, or the key things you learned in doing that? So, if you were to set up a new service again, what is it you think, oh, this really worked, we need to do this again, or oh, if only we'd known that, I'd do this differently? Any key learning from you and your wealth of experience?
Yes, it was a very long journey of learning. So I think it's the same ingredients that Sean put up at the beginning, making sure that you have senior management and senior leadership, including political leadership support, because what works best if Lifelong Links isn't an intervention, but it's part of the values that we have as an organization when it comes to children in our care. Those values about relationships, about connections, and those values being shared right across the system, because often introducing something new can be difficult for lots of people, but when we have that understanding and shared value, it helps a lot. So yeah, that buy-in from senior leadership within the organization is really important, but also the implementation group brings together services, because for Lifelong Links really works across different services: the IRO, the child social worker, the foster carer, the residential place, the contact arrangements you've got. So having a group that comes together to work on any problems that come up is really important. One of the things that also helped is having dedicated personnel to really progress the work. When you're first establishing Lifelong Links, it's difficult if it's an add-on to somebody when it comes to the project management. It really needs somebody who can really keep things coordinated and at pace. But also it needs a real involvement of children and young people within the local authority, so that whatever decisions you make and whatever pace you make is informed by children and young people, and also by parents. So I think it's really important to have the value base, to think about lifelong links as, you know, how is this going to affect every single practitioner within the local authority and how they think and view the issue about children. Often the kind of difficulties you have is us changing our mindsets about whether or not children having more relationships actually is, you know, breaks down children's homes or where they're living. We've often believed that's the case, and yet research tells us otherwise. And often there are those barriers in understanding and beliefs that we have to break down. So really important to work with a whole new mindset and to think about how lifelong links can impact how we practice right from the front door, right through the system, and all the tools that lifelong links brings with it are really important for other work. So the family finding tools are important for other work as well, and for keeping children connected to relationships right from the beginning. I don't know if that answers your question, Lucy.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thanks, Tendai. We've also had another question. Sarah, you've got your hand up. I noticed is this in terms of the annual savings question that you'd asked?
Yeah, sorry. I don't
Yeah,
know,
no, it's fine.
Right, yeah. It kind of is, but that can kind of, I just want to know how they'd work that got to that calculation. It's more about in terms of Family Group Conferencing, we're like significantly embedded with the team. So we've started Lifelong Links last year. But I suppose really we're working more with care leavers, but what I want to do is expand that now, working with our children in care, then Family Links, because what we want to do is stabilise placements, look at bringing family time to be more natural with family members and the carers, rather than having the local authority intervening in them. So in terms of the application, obviously I saw on the map that you put together, it's about developing what you've already got. So would it be okay if we, because I don't want to put it in and it's not right, but if we put a bid in to extend our Lifelong Links team to move into working with our children in care as well?
Shall I answer that? So I just want to be really explicit that obviously we are not the DFE, and it's really important that local authorities read through the DFE guidance and look at what's smart, etc. But the answer is yes. If you are not working with a group of children, you've already got a Lifelong Link service and you want to extend that to children who are maybe a younger age group, then this is an opportunity to do so. There were a couple of questions in the chat that shall I just quickly cover. One is about children's involvement. The guidance is clear that they do expect, in relation to what you're applying for, that there will be children and young people's voices will be part of the application, and we expect that as part of Lifelong Links. It's really key, both at a strategic level as well as an individual child level. And it's something which all the way through, when we've developed guidance, the experiences of children and young people are critical to that. So that was one question. There's a lot of questions which are very specific, asking. So just to reiterate what Lucy mentioned, is that we will be sending out an email after this, and that will include a sort of what our training consultancy package could look like to be included in the bid. But it's really important that you talk to us as individual authorities. So that's why we are asking you to book in those 40-minute slots that will be sent out, that you can just book in, and then we can talk to you about your individual situations. We cannot write your application for you. You've got to do that yourselves. You've got to make the decisions. If you're going for lifelong links, you've got to include family rights group in relation to, as the sort of in that section of the application which talks about third sector, and you need to make sure that you've included costings for our support. Obviously, if you go for something else, that's absolutely up to you. But if it's lifelong links, then that's what we're asking of yourselves, in order that we can ensure that lifelong links is introduced in a way or extended in a way that has maximum benefit for children and young people. They will also ask about sustainability in the bid, and you need to be considering that. So if you're only doing it to chase the money, it's not the right it's not the right motivation. If you want to be doing this because you think this is what's right for children and young people in your locality, then this is a very helpful opportunity that the DFE has come along with.
Great. I'm aware we've got about 5 minutes left in the session, so I think it is, yes, just worth reiterating what Kathy has said, that really shortly, hopefully by end of today, we'll send out that follow-up email with the slides, with the outline of the package, and with the link to book in those slots so you can talk to us. So we'll be able to talk through about what's a realistic number of young people that you think you could work with in the first year. There's been some questions in the chat as well, but just the practicalities about training, whether it's training new FGC coordinators or new lifelong links coordinators. We'll be putting on additional training so it lines up with the deadlines that Department of Education have kind of set out now. So we'll be putting on additional training in kind of October and November, so we can react as quickly as possible as soon as the decision, the DFE make people available, make people aware of their decisions. So I think what I'll do now is to finish, unless Kathy or Sean, Don or Tendai has anything final to say or add.
No, can't think of anything.
I think there's so much that people are asking, and we just want to make sure that you're able to take up this opportunity for the benefit of children and young people. And thanks to Tendai for contributing to this session. And I hope it's a reflection of how we work with local authorities, that we do see it as very much a partnership.
And for those existing local authorities here who we're currently working with and who are offering lifelong links, obviously any questions you have, feel free to get in touch with your practice advisor as well. Those slots to book time with us is available for you as well. But any other questions you have, feel free to get in touch with Dawn, Andrew and Nicola. They're standing by. We're just going to finish with a little short clip of a young person who's experienced lifelong links, and then enjoy the rest of your days.
Lifelong links. Take a right long think. It might not sink in until you hit the brink of this rink that's frozen, so break it open.
The mission of Family Rights Group is to create a more socially just society in which children are able to live safely and thrive within their family, and to strengthen the community and support networks of children who are unable to live at home. And that's where Lifelong Links comes into it.
Lifelong Links is where young folk get the opportunity to have an independent coordinator who researches that young person's family and then reaches out.
Seize the moment. Realise the importance, the good that it does, builds foundations for love, helps rise above past use of drink or drugs.
We started being curious about Lifelong Links about 6 years ago, just asking questions of some of the youngsters that were coming into our care system, wondering who else was in the family, who else was there, who else was important to them.
I remember I was about maybe 12, 13, because I knew I didn't have much of a family, and I remember feeling quite isolated. I felt really disconnected because everybody had like some sort of idea of family and where they came from, and I just knew that I was in care and that was very, very different, and I was just really scared about like what the future was going to have in store for me. It's not about them and it's not about you. It's about finding the ones that love me too. In a world that's askew, filled with drink and abuse, I think that we should find the family that's good.
They will have a birth family and people that were around probably when they were quite a bit younger that have been important to them, and we can't just rule these people out and not do anything to kind of keep them connected.
I think one of the biggest fears I had was about being rejected. From my perspective, I went into care because my family didn't love me and nobody wanted to be involved in my life, and that was my whole understanding of it, and it wasn't the case at all. Most people were actually really, really excited to hear from me.
A lot of the relationships that Lifelong Links has brought about should never have been broken in the first place, so we need to shift the system so that doesn't happen.
I think the biggest surprise for me was probably getting in touch with my auntie. She'll have some of the answers as to like the questions I had about my mum. I wanted to see my brothers, wanted to know what they looked like, wanted to have a relationship with them. And I actually have that now. Things just feel a bit more normal. I feel a lot more connected because I have family now, like most people do, and it's been mind-blowing really. Not sure what to say, not sure how to act, and now it's a fact, I got my family back.